when you're walking and you're in a flow state, what that means is that you're opening yourself up to be able to hear this voice. Now, when you're in this flow state, all you got to do is you got to just start asking questions. By the time I'm done, you see the sun, but literally like there's a spiritual thing about that.
Daniel Krynzel shut down 2 7-figure businesses that he built in order to live his life's purpose, which is to connect as many men as possible to God and win the battle of good versus evil. He created the God Walk app so that other men could also get direct coaching from God on their financial purpose, relationships, and health. I know what you're thinking. We haven't had a lot of people come on the show and directly talk about God, talk about religion. And if you know me based on watching the show, you know that I'm not the most religious person per se, but I am a very spiritual person. And I'm very interested to hear what Dan has to say, because I know that even if I don't share all of his beliefs on God or whatever it may be, and same for you, I know that I'll take one thing away from this conversation to use in my own life. And hell, maybe I'll even use the app, and maybe you'll find value in the app as well. You know the deal with the broadcast. We don't run ads. We don't have sponsors. The reason we do that is we don't want to interrupt your viewing experience. And the way that our show has grown is because you are the best part of the Be Better team. All that we ask is you share this show if you take away value from Dan and I's conversation. Dan, it's a pleasure to have you all the way down from the peninsula of Florida, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this.
So let's jump right into it. So tell me, how did you discover this life purpose that you closed 2 of your very successful businesses for? Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of a backstory to that, if that's okay. Just
Please.
If we go right in, it won't really make sense. So I've always been in business. I've always been able to make a lot of money. I was 13 years old, had my first business in Ohio. That's where I grew up. I had a lawn service. Made a bunch of money, bought my first car. It was, my dad was like asking me like how much money I had. And I was like, pitching him. Well, do you need a loan? I can give you some money. Like, yeah. So I've always had this knack of making money, even when I was a kid, in between baseball and track and football and basketball and all the stuff I was doing, I was hustling. So I carried that on as I went through high school, and then out of college, I was in the mortgage business, and I had a massive success. We were doing big deals, and owned my own mortgage company. And I was 25, 26 years old, owning a huge house in a neighborhood I didn't belong in. Like, they would ask me, where are your parents at? And I'd say, no, I have this house. This is my house. So I had a lot of success. And then in 2008, March of 2008, the real estate market shifted. And we went from making a bunch of money to really the industry stopped. Like the faucet literally got like turned off. Like there was no more business. So I went from all this money, hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month, to nothing. And man, there was a decision that I made. And I don't want to jump into this and say, oh, poor me, like victim me. Like that is not what I'm about to say. Like I made a decision to put my head in the sand and just start drinking. I literally lost everything. I lost the house, the cars. She left with the kids. I had no money. Every single toy or car that I had was repoed. Bankruptcy, foreclosure. Lost the building, lost the mortgage company, lost all the real estate stuff that I had going on. Like it was just gone over a couple of months period. And I'm in a rental and I'm calling my dad, asking him for a place to stay alone, drunk out of my mind. I mean, that was how bad it was. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, Dad, I need a place to stay. And he's like, son, I thought you were rich. And I was like, I was last month. And he's like, what do you mean? I go, Dad, I was making a lot of money and then it just stopped. I go, I had a lot of responsibilities. And at the time I wasn't really smart with how I ran my stuff. Like I had a portfolio that was 25, 26 years old worth of knowledge. So if you can imagine, I had all this money and not very much good direction. So yeah, I mean, it crumbled,
yeah. I'm curious to dive into that piece. I know there's more and I want to get to that, but at 13, starting your own business, most 13-year-olds aren't starting their own business. When I was 14, I started my first job, but it never even occurred to me that I'm old enough to start a business, especially because I've watched some other interviews with you. You're in your early 40s, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm 28 right now. So I'm in the similar spot you were in when you were losing the mortgage company.
Yeah.
And certainly when I was 13, 14, there was no Instagram or social media. There was, but there wasn't like seeing the businesses on the For You page. Like, where did that idea of even starting a business at such a young age come from? Is that something you observed with your family?
No, it wasn't. It was literally like an inner decision. There was no influence outside at all. My dad it was like an experience. We moved into this big house. It came with a riding lawnmower because the yard was so big. So I'm mowing and I like mowing the lawn. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm riding this lawnmower, and my dad would pay me $1 a week. And it was now look, the economy was way better back then. I'm not that old, so $1 a week was like cheap, right?
Yeah.
I realized if I cut the grass twice a week, he'll pay me $2 a week. So I started doing that.
Hmm.
Then it got to a point to where, and we had a batting cage in the backyard. I'd cut lines out of it like the big league baseball fields I'd watch on TV. Like I was doing some cool stuff, but I'm like, wait a minute. I need to expand. Like if I cut the neighbor's yard, I can charge him probably $20 because like I'm not their kid, you know?
Yeah.
I went over to the neighbors and I'm like, hey, I can cut your grass. I know you're paying your guy, whatever. I'll do it for $20. Look at my grass. And they're like, well, yeah, yours looks. I'm like, well, let's keep it in the family. You know, I'm your neighbor. She helped me out here. Like that was like I just negotiated, and it was. And then I realized, okay, well, this is awesome. Like I barely cut my own yard because it wasn't like, profitable anymore. So Ed was kind of complaining, but I was using his mower.
Yeah.
And then I just expanded. I bought my own lawnmower. I remember it was $1,846. I bought it from Walmart. It was a weed eater, a green, like 42-inch mowing deck. Like I'll never forget these numbers. I don't know why, but it was like a great thing that I bought, and I brought it home. They actually delivered it. I bought it. They delivered it. My dad is like just like scratching his head. Like what? I'm like, Dad, I'm like in business.
Yeah.
Bought my first car. It was like $2,500 when I was 16. It was awesome.
That's amazing. What a cool story. I mean, we all remember that first purchase. Like you've got your mower. I saved up for an entire summer to buy a $600 guitar, and your purchase actually made you money. Mine caused me to spend more money, if anything. I think it surprises me more than anything because you're this young guy with a bunch of drive. You know how to make money, right? Indirectly, but then you learned, hey, I can do this. I can use my skills and take my time and add value and make money. It surprises me that in your mid-20s, once the mortgage industry disappeared, you're earning a lot of money, that you went to the bottle, that you didn't say, well, this last 10 years, I figured it out. But was it because you got to such a high level of income / status that you were saying to yourself, like, what were you saying to yourself mentally at that time?
I was a product I was involved with what was being told, the propaganda that was being pushed out. I look back at it now and I understand that I didn't then. But like, the real estate market's crashed. We're in a crisis. Like we're in a recession. I hear all these, I just heard all that bullshit. And I bought into it. Like I was frozen to a point to where like, I believed that like I couldn't make any money in the mortgage business, which was wrong. There was still investors flipping houses. There really was, because what they were doing was they were just buying and holding because the market was going so far down. They were buying and holding, and then they were actually putting people in for rentals. They were making a bunch of money because if I would have held on for 5 years, I could have turned $1 million into 10 or 15 million with what the prices did with the rebound. Didn't happen fast, but it happened like it always does in real estate. So I didn't have that mindset back then. So instead of me like trying to figure it out, I was just like, I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to start drinking. I'm going to go to bed passed out. Like, she left, she took the kids, and then I had nothing. I'm in this rental for a couple of months. I couldn't even pay it. They're like evicting me. And I'm like, look, you don't have to evict me. I'll leave. Like I was broken. I called my dad and I'm like, I need help. And he's like, seriously, son, like what the hell happened? And I'm like, I don't know. The real estate market, like you can't make any money in it. That's what I was bought into. And He said, you can stay on the couch. My spare bedroom is my office. Like, that's how I make a living, son. But you can stay on the couch. I'll help you.
Yeah.
And luckily he was there for me. I would have been on the street.
So what happened after that? So now you're staying with him. You've got this new habit of drinking. Was that still happening while you were with your father, or did he say you got to stop that if you're going to live with me?
Yeah, he didn't say that. He was trying to stop me, but he could look at me and he could know, like, if he would have said that, I would have been homeless. And he just, I don't think he wanted that for me. So here's the other thing. I was drinking even before the things crashed, because when I was drinking, I was celebrating. I just closed a deal. I just made a bunch of money. I just made my first, $100,000 in 2 weeks. Like, let's party, like that would be my excuse. And then if I didn't close a deal, man, don't bother me. I'll be in the garage. I'll be drinking myself, to an oblivion by myself, playing with all these toys, back when I had the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was just a reason to drink, and I would drink. So it was like in me. It was a problem, but it really showed its face when I didn't have anything, like nothing, no reason for anything. Like, my kids weren't even around, So 2 years of me sitting on my dad's couch during the day, sleeping on my dad's couch during the night, and during the day sitting on my dad's couch drinking all day, hard alcohol, beer, whatever I could get my hands on, smoking weed, drugs, whatever I could do to just leave and not feel. And one morning, this is when it stopped. This is where God, like, literally came in. He came in, and I get up. It's about 6 hours of sleep. So I wouldn't say I was sober, but I had 6 hours of not drinking, which was about as long as you would find for that whole 2-year stretch of me not completely, like, already in. So instead of walking to the liquor cabinet in the kitchen or in the garage where I got some stuff stashed, like, I walked right past the liquor cabinet. I walked outside, and I, like, went on a little walk in the backyard of my dad's house. And I'm kind of looking around, and then all of us, and I don't know why I'm back there. Like, I don't go for walks. I don't go in the backyard, Yeah. And then I hear this voice, and it's like, son, you're done drinking. And I'm like, okay, who was that? Dad, are you out here? I'm like looking to my left and my right. I'm looking behind me. It's like, son, you can hear me. I know you can. Stop drinking. I'm like, is this God? He's like, son, you're done. Don't drink again. And it's like this voice that's like got bass. It's booming. It's like completely surrounding my whole body. Like, I can hear it, but it's like on top of me too.
It was like external. It wasn't just in your head.
It was both. It was both. It's very hard to explain, especially the first time that it happened. Like, it was very authoritative and booming, but at the same time, there was like this huge sense of calm and certainty at the same time. It was like all happening at once. So I start reasoning with this voice and with God. I'm like, God, what do you mean I'm done? Like, I've tried to stop drinking for years. Like, what do you mean? He goes, you're done. Don't drink again. I'm like, how am I going to, he goes, you're done. Don't, like, that's all he'll give me. I'm like, shit. Like, I'm going to get my ass kicked by this voice. Like, that's how I felt. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, all right, well, great. This is exciting, because this is different than the last,
2 years,
600 or so days of waking up and going through this, like, Groundhog Day thing, So I walked inside. I walked right past the liquor cabinet. I sat on the couch like I always do, but I didn't have a drink in my hand. My dad wakes up later. He looks at me. He's like, wow. He's like probably thinking, like, we run out of alcohol? Did he not find any? I'm just sitting there, and like the fog was lifting for like 3 or 4 days. Literally, like, that was was a cycle of just going to sleep and waking up, watching TV with my dad in between, what he was doing with his work in his office. And it was really great. We built such a good relationship over those couple of days. Like, I could see it forming. It was magnificent. And the fog was lifting, and then like 5 days into this, I'm like, I got to get my shit together. Like, I got to make some money. That's when it kicked in, like, there's the entrepreneur spirit that came back out, and he's like, I'm like, all right, it's time to do something. So I did something. I found a network marketing company. That was pretty easy back then. 2010, like, everyone had network marketing. the crisis and the crash, and then now let's do network marketing and I'll be rich. So I got into one of those. I did it for 2 years. I did pretty good, making $10,000-$20,000 in a month, which was great. It was one of the top levels at that time, but that wasn't mortgage money. That wasn't anything what I was used to making. I got the kids back in my life. I'm sober. I'm having like this relationship with God. And with that relationship, I built another mortgage company. I actually was working for a mortgage company at the time. And the president of the company, he told me, he said, look, you're doing a lot of business. We can't have you go anywhere. We've opened up warehouse lines because of you and your team. We need to put you on as an owner so you won't go nowhere. Here's a stake in the company. Here's some profit sharing. Here's this, here's that. I'm like, okay, you win. Thank you. He's like, you deserve it. I've never seen anyone come in and build something from scratch like you did, because I started over. And I had my own building. I had 5 employees that were like all full-time for me. And I was doing it. And then it changed. Now, as I'm building this, like I'm having this connection with God, but it's not like a consistent connection, and it's not like a back and forth conversation connection. It's like that voice would come in, but it wouldn't be as booming and it wouldn't be as like earth shattering. It would almost be like an idea, or it would be like me being guided. And I would
let me
listen
ask you
this.
about that if I can. So
Please.
when you started telling the story about the voice, you first were like, Dad, is that you? Who is this? Like, was it in that moment that you said to yourself, or had an inner knowingness, this is God? This is that thing, entity, person I've been hearing about my whole life. This must be it. Like, when did you have that knowingness that this was the quote unquote divine?
It was 5 seconds into it. Like there was no disputing that it was not like it. I wasn't at a concert with speakers playing. I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like it was in my head, but it was like in my body. It was God. Like I knew. See, I grew up in Ohio across from a church, a Catholic church. And like we would go to church like once every 2 years. We weren't religious. Then, I would go to a Christian church like once every 3 years. Just, I don't know why, I just would. Right. So I knew of God. I believed in God, but I had like no like religion box, which is cool if you do. Like, I'm not disrespecting anyone if they're a hardcore Christian or Catholic or whatever you're in. That's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and like I knew without a shadow of a doubt. And then then I'd start stacking evidence. This is really important because a lot of men and women are like listening to this going, okay, how do you know? It's like, this is how I knew. I would take action when I was told or when I was inspired with an idea that I know wasn't mine. I would take the action, especially if it didn't make sense, but I knew like inside that it wasn't me operating. It was divine. When I knew that happened, I would take the action, and then the evidence would stack on itself. Like my life kept getting better exponentially. Like for me to stop drinking was a huge like belief that went way deep into the roots of like my soul. Cause I couldn't stop. Like I couldn't stop when I was making money. I couldn't stop when I wasn't making money. And then God just comes in and I listen and I'm done. And I haven't wanted to drink or use drugs since then. It's been, July 7th, 2010 was that day.
Good for you, brother.
I mean, it's like I drink energy drinks. It's bad as it gets. And I drink some good ones. Like there's caffeine in them. That's like the worst part of it,
Yeah.
So as I'm like stacking this evidence, I'm building this stuff. Like I'm operating at a very high level. It's the 6th day of the month. I have my team. The building is all mine. Like I'm one of the owners of the company and profit sharing. I've got houses, I've got cars, I've got toys, I've got travel. I've got everything. The kids are back in my life. Everybody is happy. I'm at the office. It's 5:30 in the morning. It's the 7th day of the month again. Conveniently, the 7th day. I don't know what's going on with the 7th day for me, but many years later, from that time, God told me to stop drinking. It's the 7th day of the month again. 5:30 in the morning, I look at my bank accounts, and I'm in the office before anyone else, so no one's there. It's 5:30 in the morning. I'm looking at my bank accounts and I'm looking at a deposit that hit the day before, which was the 6th, and it was $131,000. And I'm thinking, oh, this is exciting. Where did this come from? And I'm like, oh, that is the 6 days of commissions. I've already made $131,000 in 6 days of the month from the commissions. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to make 500,000 this month. Like, this is exciting. And then I felt myself selling myself to feeling good. Like, if you're a real salesman, you can feel when the sale is coming on. I could feel the sale coming on inside myself. And I believe I'm the best salesman in the world, right? But I could feel myself selling myself. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I lean back in my chair. I look up into the ceiling tiles and I'm like, God, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm supposed to feel good right now and I feel empty. Like there's like a semi truck that could drive through my chest right now. Like I'm like empty. What the hell is going on? That same voice comes in and he goes, son, you're done. Get out of the mortgage business. You're not going to close mortgages anymore. I'm like, I throw my hands up. I'm like, okay, first off, like, God, you know, I'm pretty good at this thing. Like, I'm sure you could probably see my screen. I think you know everything, right? So, how am I going to replace? What am I going to, like, these are the questions. I am like literally walking in the bullpen area for a while, for like 20, 30, maybe even 45 minutes, like talking with God in the bullpen area of my office. I had like a cubicle set where my telemarketers were. Yep. And I'm like pacing. No one's there yet. And I'm like, God, how am I going to, like, I have a lease, I have employees, I have like a lifestyle again. It's bigger than it was before. Like I've got investments now and I wasn't as stupid as I was before because now I'm like smart and or smarter and I'm not drunk, you know, and I've already lost and went through that crap. Like, but still, like, come on, like, what do you mean? How am I going to replace this? How am I going to make all of my commitments? He's like, you're done. That's all he would say. You're done. And then he told me something right at the end of this conversation that was powerful. He said, you were built for way more than just closing mortgages. That right there changed my life forever. That phrase or that sentence or that comment from God, because it hit me inside my heart. Like I felt it like land to a point to where it's like, shit, that's why nothing's ever good enough. That's why no matter how much money I make in this office or how much money I make in all the other stuff I'm doing, like it's not enough.
Why do you think he told you this at this point?
Yeah. I know why he told me this, because I was ready to hear it. I know this from my relationship with God. I wasn't ready to hear this when I was running and gunning and drinking. I wasn't ready to hear this when I was sober for 5 days. I wasn't ready to hear this when I was sober for a year. There had to be some time. There had to be some connection and some trust built with me, believing in God and him directing my life. So I was ready is the answer. So like, it takes balls to like listen to something that's not you. Like, think about it for a second. Like, there's a lot of people thinking, okay, whoa, like, I don't know about this. Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't either. But that first time that he told me to stop drinking and I stopped and my life got way better, that was the first stack of evidence. And then he told me to make a move. He told me to get into network marketing. I did good. Like, I completely grew out of that deal. I became a better businessman because of that deal, right? Then he told me to get into the mortgage business. Like, he guided me and it just kept stacking. I'm like, this is not me. And he's like, I know, son, I'm here helping you. Like, he would like jump in like out of nowhere. I'd be driving down the road and he'd just start talking to me. So I'm like, okay, this is fucking awesome. Like, I need more of this. So I kept doing this. So now I'm having this conversation and I've built years of communicating with God. And I hear this conversation, then my office, my team starts filing in, and they're, coming into their cubicles and their offices, and the receptionist comes in, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to talk to God in the bullpen anymore. So I just kind of went and got a fresh cup of coffee, and I sat down at my desk, and I like remember the conversation. It's not that I forgot it, but I like directly went into work mode. Like, it was like, I had the conversation, but okay, great. Now I'm going to sell some deals.
Yeah.
So
So in a way you heard the voice, but instead of taking action on what the voice told you, like you did when you stopped drinking, you went back to selling mortgages in that moment.
I tried. That's what's funny. This is really, really like interesting here. So that day I was selling my ass off like I always do. And me selling my ass off is like this. This is how I built my mortgage business back then. Was I realized the best thing that I could do was build relationships and build people's trusts and actually get the decision maker to say yes. So I wanted to sell. That's all I wanted to do and build relationships. So that's all I did. When I would speak to the husband or the decision maker of the household, and they were like, yes, I'm in. Thank you for helping me. When they would say that, I would have my team close their mortgage. I would check in from time to time, but I didn't spend very much time. I would just be selling deals. So I would bring in 2 to 5 new deals every single day, and we would close 2 to 5 deals every single day. So like my mortgage business was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the only loan officer or originator in my team. There was nobody else. But that's all I did was sell deals. I didn't calculate income or qualify or ask for any paperwork. Like I literally, like we had a department for that, and it was really good the way that our customer service was set up. So I'm like on the phone, and I had a telemarketing floor of setting appointments for me all day. So I'd walk in on 15-minute blocks and they'd be stacked. Mm-hmm. Some days I wouldn't even have time to go to the bathroom or eat. Like that's how many appointments I'd have. So I'm there, I'm on the phone, and everyone's saying no. Your rates are too high. Your fees are too high. And I'm like, people don't say that to me. Like, I'm the best. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I have a track record. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know how many deals I close. Like, I get new deals every day. I close deals every day. Like, that's like my self-talk, but I've done it for years. Like, regardless of what the market is, like, I have telemarketers that, like, get them for me. I sell them, and then I have my team close them. Like that. It was just a well-oiled machine. And everyone's saying no. I go home like my ass kicked, like what the hell? Like I got jumped. Mm-hmm. So the second day I go back and for the regular day, and same thing happens. I can't put anything together yet. Like I'm just not there, even though you think, well, it's kind of obvious. You just had a conversation. Like I couldn't put that together.
Yeah.
Third day in a row, I show up. And I'm like revved up. Like now it's like, okay, I got to like get some shit going. Like, what am I going to do here? My team's looking at me kind of weird too, because it's been a weird couple of days. Usually they get apps every single day from me, every single day. They didn't get anything for 2 days. And I've been there too. It's not like I was on vacation. So things start happening and falling apart on the third day. People at closing aren't signing. They're canceling. Docs aren't showing up at time. Like literally it all happened in like 3 hours. Like just falling out. I'm like, what is going on? I look at my calendar. I have a chiropractor appointment. I'm like, I'm so excited to go to this thing. Yeah. I need to get the hell out of here. So jump in my truck. I drive to the chiropractor. I'm waiting in the waiting room, and I would go once a week. Because it like gives me energy. Yeah. I'm not hurt or anything. It just gives me energy. And so I'm there, I'm waiting. God jumps in the waiting room. He jumps in and he says, delete your database.
This guy's pretty forceful.
Yeah. What? Delete your database. You're done. I told you were done. I'm whispering because I'm in the waiting room to God.
So you speak out loud when you're responding.
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, usually I talk just like where I am now, but I'm in the waiting room at the chiropractor's office. So I'm whispering. I'm like, God, say that again. He's like, delete your database. You're done. I'm like, God, I delete that, then I can't close any more mortgages. He's like, that's what I told you. Why do you think after we had the conversation a couple of days ago, you haven't been able to close anything? You're done. He confirmed it. And I like didn't even want to think or believe that. And I think that like subconsciously there was like a block. Like I wouldn't admit that like he told me I was done, and I was, because I didn't close anything after that, literally with a huge operation. So my tech is very high level. At this point, I've been in the business for 22 years. So it was all on my phone. I literally deleted my database on my phone. I went to the trash folder. I deleted it. And I start freaking out. Like, what am I going to do? And I'm like ready to like start whispering to God, like, God, like, okay, I need some help now. Like I'm about to have a heart attack, like help me. Then they call me back for my adjustment. I'm like, shit. This is not the time. So I get back. I'm like a brick. Like I'm laying like that on the chiropractor table. And the guy's like pushing on me. The same dude that works on me every single week. He's like, you've got a lot of stress in your life. Like, what's going on? I'm like, dude, you have no idea what just happened in your waiting room. And he's like, oh, tell me. He's like trying to Dr. Phil me. I'm like, we don't have time for this. And you would not understand. So just do what you can do for me and I'm out of here. So he pushes on me. He gives me like 5% relief when usually when I walk out, I can like do backflips almost,
Yeah.
I'm walking out, I get in my truck and I got back in the truck and I drove back to the office. Like, that's all I know. I still am going back to the office. I don't know why. Show up to the office. I walk into my door. I've got the beautiful corner office. Shut the door. I sit in my chair and I just lean back and I'm like, all right, God, what am I supposed to do now? I have no database. You told me I'm done. I have clearly not been able to close a mortgage since we had the conversation a few days ago. What do I do now? He's like, go home and play with your kids. Get up early tomorrow and have a walk with me. And I'm like, have a walk with you and go home right now. Like, it just wouldn't compute. So I'm like back and forth. Okay, say that again. And he said the same thing. I said, all right. So I went home, played with the kids. My son's like banging on his little drum set. My little daughter's like just learning how to walk. Like, it was a beautiful night. I don't know like how I like had a great night, but I did, even with all this. The next morning I wake up. I'm not even freaking out. It's early. Like the sun's not even up, like an hour earlier than the sun, is waking up because I like can't sleep. I wake up. I'm like, shit. Okay. Well, I got to like figure this out. Right. So no one in my family knows what's going on. I mean, there's no way. So I jump in the truck. I'm driving to the office because that's just what I know. Like my truck drives there by itself, because it's just like, that's the routine.
Yeah.
It's except it doesn't make the right-hand turn. It keeps going straight. And then we go a couple of more streets and make a right and then a left. And I'm at the park. I'm at the park and I'm like, holy shit. God told me we're going to have a walk. Like God, like literally inspired me to drive the truck to the park. I didn't even know where I was driving. So I'm at the park. I jump out of the truck and I start walking because that's what God told me to do. And I start asking him questions and I start saying, God, like, what do I do? How do I unwind this thing then? Like, I know that when you tell me to do something, like you're not going to drop me, you're not going to let me fail. Like I'm connected to you. Like I know I can feel this. Like there's something brewing. I'm just going to listen. I listened before. I'm listening now. Like, what am I supposed to do? He's like, well, what do you think he's interviewing me. He's like, what do you think the first steps are? And I'm like, well, how do I get out of this fucking lease? That was I'm like cussing. And not like cussing at God, but just cussing about the situation. Because it's a 2.5-year lease that's left. And it's one of those leases that like you get sued if you don't pay. Like it's not, I'm going to hurt your credit. Like, no, it's a commercial big ass lease. It's like a quarter of the building that they're counting on me to pay,
Not to mention 5 employees that work with you.
Oh yeah. That was the second day. But the first day I'm like, I couldn't even think about them yet. I'm like, I'm thinking about me.
Yeah.
Right. So he's like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and do this. You'll get out. I'm like, okay. I go back to the mortgage office after I had the walk. I say hello to the team. I shut the door. I get out of the lease in like an hour. Exactly like a commercial lease that's 2.5 years later, right? That's how much more time's left on it. Big lease. I'm out. Completely out. Like there's a draft in my email. I just need to sign it. It's done. Everybody's happy. I'm like, holy shit. Okay. So the next day I wake up and early, I go to the same park. I walk. And this was the next question. God, how do I take care of these employees? There's 5 of them. And he's like, now these 5, just to give you some context on this, some of them have been with me for years. And 2 out of the 5 were homeowners that literally started with me as renters. They had bad credit. They fixed their credit. They built enough income through bonuses and salary that I paid them because of the work that they showed up doing. They did so good that like they qualified for these homes.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like I have 2 out of my 5 employees that just like need to find another job to pay rent. Like they got mortgages, they got families, they got people counting on them. They're counting on me to help them, you know? And so it's like my heart now is like out, like, okay, I got out of the lease. Now what do I do with the employees? What do I do with the team? You know, it was the Krynzel team back then. Like, what do I do with them? And so God tells me, and I'll tell you, you know, this part of the story. He says, call Greg. Greg's the president of the mortgage company that I was a part owner of then. And he said, just tell Greg that you want to give him all of your employees. And the deal is you'll give him all of your employees as long as he agrees to pay them at least what you're paying them now. You'll give Greg all of your systems and all of your pipeline. You'll give him all of your return clients. You'll give him everything, but he's got to take care of your 5 employees and write them offer letters and all this. Like this is happening at such a speed, like it's like whiplash, like how fast this shit's going. I'm like, all right. So I'm literally, I get done with my walk. I go back to the office. I call Greg and I'm like, all right, I'm done doing mortgages. He's like, what? Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm really sure. I'm done. He goes, what are you going to do? I go, I don't know. He's like, this doesn't sound like you. And I go, yeah, I know. I'm done. So I have an opportunity for you now. And I get into my sales mode, right? I go, I know that you want my pipeline. I know that you want my order of operations. I know that you want my employees. So this is the offer that I'm going to make for you because I love my employees and I want to take care of them. I literally present this to him just like God told me to. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it for sure. I want all of them. So 4 out of the 5 employees actually went over to the corporate side. The one that didn't go was just because it was time for him to go on his own anyway.
Yeah.
He was my marketing guy.
Yeah.
So he wanted to run his own business. And I was like, you know, that's awesome. I keep the database. I don't need it. Whatever you have, you just keep. Don't send it to me because I deleted my side of it, you know?
So after you dismantle this business,
yeah,
the leases, you know, you figured that out. The employees are taken care of. What did you do next? What were you told next?
There was still about 3 weeks or 4 weeks of unwinding. There was more than just this business that I was told to get rid of. I had a coaching business online. I was teaching realtors how to sell. I was teaching realtors how to lead gen. So that business, I stopped accepting clients. I did the fulfillment still. So I had a little bit of work left because I had, you know, quite a bit of money collected from that too, that I still wanted to provide the service that they paid for. But I was literally unwinding. It was an unwinding season and freaking out season for me. I was a little freaked out. Like I was scared. Like, what am I going to do? Finally, in a walk, God tells me what I'm going to do. Now, this is after me walking with God every single day for a long time. Like every single day for sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes 2 hours, every single day, like before the sun is up. And I'm like developing this rhythm, and I understood how to like get to God, and like I understood how to actually get more information to a point to where I would ask him a question, and then I would literally have to have my cell phone with me, and I'd have to get on one of the notes on my iPhone, and I'd have to hit the little microphone button and speak all of the information that was coming into me, all the ideas, all of the voice, all of the coaching and inspiration that was coming.
Yeah.
I would like dump it out of my mouth into my phone. I couldn't even type it fast enough. And I would be walking, I'd be in this flow state. So I learned like this rhythm of getting in a flow state and then actually like speaking the coaching and the revelation into my phone. So God tells me one morning when I'm doing this, he's like, you are going to teach men. You're going to connect alpha men to me. You're going to show them how to connect with me directly so they can get all their answers in their business, so they can get all their answers in their body and their health, so they can get all their answers in their relationships so they can lead their families. That's what you're here to do, son. You're here to help me win this battle of good versus evil. And I'm like, holy shit, what do you mean good versus evil? What do you mean? He goes, look at what's going on down there. We need alpha men. We need enough men. We need you to build me an army. So there's enough people that know the truth about what's going on so they can actually influence the right people. So things can happen the way they're supposed to happen, not the way that things are being taken over right now. Your world will not be a good place in the next couple of years if you don't make a change. He's like putting this on me. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I don't really have any political view at this point. I don't have any idea what he's talking about. Like, I don't know who our enemies are. I don't know what's about to happen. He literally tells me that I'm going to connect alpha men to him so he can literally have conversations directly with them like he's having with me every single day.
Yep.
So he can help them with their business. He can help them with their body. He can help them with their relationships. So then they'll be whole men and whole families. So then they can actually really listen to the revelation and get their purpose directly from God while they're here on earth. Like, that was the walk that changed my life and will change the world forever.
How many years ago was this now? This
was just a year ago. This was just a year ago. So it was so exciting to hear this and go, okay, I understand. He's like, you have the rhythm, build an app, teach them exactly how you get into flow state. Teach them exactly how you're able to ask these strategic questions. Teach them how you can focus on your financial purpose, on your body and health, and on your relationships. Build the app and get it out to the masses. Get it out to the alpha men. Those are the men that are going to change the world. The women are there. They can help, but the men are the ones that are going to lead their families. He's like, you have to realize every single woman out there wants a man to take care of them. Every single woman out there wants a man directly connected to God that knows that that man is leading her and her family with the right steps, not just stupid ass ideas or self-will trying to figure something out. But when that man is directly connected to me, that woman is going to follow that family. We're going to have strong families. We're not going to have broken homes. Like, that's what we need. We need these men. Like, he's like talking to me for a long time on this walk, particularly.
Yeah.
And so from that walk, tech is not something, especially on the app side, is not something that I can just create in one day, or else I would have. Like, it took a little while, but we got the app created, the Godwalk app.
Great name.
Yeah. And then what we do with the Godwalk app is we actually select the men that we want to actually be a part of Men of God and God's army. And we use the Godwalk app and these men to actually to work together with me and the brotherhood and God directly to actually become whole men, have their finances right, have their bodies right, have their relationships right. But most importantly, once they're whole and they're open, because you can't be open to like changing the world for God or doing your part for God until your money and your body and your relationships are right. Once those are right, then you can hear like what your purpose is. There's so many people, like, I can't change the world by myself, but I do know that when I bring enough men to God and they're connected massively to God, like directly, like, I will change the world because God will tell them what their part is. Like, my part is to bring them into God, right? And then God's going to take care of his part, which is he's going to tell each person to do what they're supposed to do in their community and their, and their state and their country, whatever it is. Like, that's literally how this is going to change. Like, there's a lot of crap going on out there. Like, we don't have to get into that. Yeah. We don't have time for that today, but there's a lot of bullshit going on right now. And there's a lot of men that are looking like, you're not taking my guns away. You're not gonna, I don't want my kids growing up in this place. Like, what the hell? We're in the USA and it doesn't feel like the USA. It feels wrong. It feels like people are trying to take us.
Much division. Yes.
So that's really like what happened for me. And to answer your original question at the beginning, like, that's the answer is I'm supposed to be here to find the men, to actually find the men, to put them in this army. So we can be directly connected to God together as a brotherhood and literally get each one of our parts from God and our purpose on life and how we can change this world forever and make it a better place.
Thanks for sharing your story. And I want to start off my response by saying that you have a great mission and a very noble goal. And it's a very fascinating story about how you've come across that goal. And what I hear you saying is that you heard this voice, right? God's voice. And you acted on the voice when you were on your dad's couch. You acted on the voice. You got your money right. You got your relationships right. Your kids are with you again. Your family's with you. And you got your health right, right? And it's very clear seeing you now that you've got your health right, which is very important. And you continued to see the results that you were getting and you continue to take action based on those results. And I think that basic framework is so important. You listened to that voice of God, or the inner voice, or instinct, or whatever anyone listening wants to call it. You listened to it, you acted, and you adjusted based on that. And you continued to listen. And then it sounds like you even created a ritual that allows you to tune into that voice more often so that you can begin to act on it continuously. Now, you mentioned that in order to discover that purpose, and in order to be told that purpose, whatever that means or looks like for someone, you've got to have your money, your body, and your health right. Now, when you were on that couch at your father's house, you were in a tough place, right? You were drinking, you weren't happy with your life, yet you heard that voice, and it wasn't telling you your purpose yet. It was simply giving you instruction on what to do next.
Yes.
So my question for you, because I want to ask you what it looks like to use the app and how that works, but my question for you is, for someone in a tough situation, or even for the person who things are going well for that person, but they feel and they have this sense that they could be doing more, not even doing more, but they could become more, but they're not quite sure what that looks like. How would you advise someone to tap into that voice without waiting for it to appear for them?
Yeah. You gotta look for the voice. You gotta literally walk with God. It's this simple. If you could right now, like right when you're done listening to this or watching this, you need to literally just go for a walk. You need to get into a flow state. That is step one. When you're walking and you're in a flow state, what that means is that you're opening yourself up to be able to hear this voice. Now, when you're in this flow state, all you got to do is you got to just start asking questions. You got to ask questions that are strategic in your life. God, what do I need to know? God, what is my next step? God, what do I need to do to get out of this? What do I need to do this? What, like, just be strategic. Like, that's how I developed it, to where like when you're in the app, like it's all there for you. Like you just take each step and then you get each answer on all three core areas of life. Like the money, the body, and the relationships. It's all there, but you don't have to start there if you don't want to. You literally just got to be walking with God and asking God, like, what is my next step? What do I need to hear? What do I need to know? And the other qualification for you to be able to hear God is you have to believe that there is a God. You have to believe that there's something bigger than you. That's the fundamental, the foundation, the foundational belief behind this whole conversation. If you believe that there's no God, if you truly believe that like you're it and you're the man or you're the woman and like it stops with you, then you're going to have a walk with yourself. Now, I know when I have a walk with myself versus a walk with God, like I get shit done when God's there, because God tells me exactly what to do. But when I show up and I try to figure something out, like I don't know anything compared to God knows. God knows everything. Like so many men are like, man, how do I get my marketing right? It's like, well, what did God tell you? Oh, yeah, try that. How do I make more sales? What did God tell you? What did God tell you need to adjust? Oh, I didn't know I could ask. Yeah, you can. He'll tell you, especially if you're lined up with something that's good. God's going to help you the whole step of the way. Like, I believe that. Like, he wants everyone to be in abundance. And so many people these days, they don't like think and they don't hang on God. Like, he'll help you. He wants you to be successful. He wants you to be happy. We were put on this earth to live in abundance, not scarcity, not fear, not lack of, not enough. Like, that's not what we're here for. So that's literally, I started on the couch. He told me to stop drinking. I stopped drinking. Then the dominoes just kept falling for my favor, because as I kept asking more questions, he gave me more answers. And as I took more action, I stacked more evidence of how it kept working and working and working and working, to now me and my wife, like we don't make a decision until we're sure that it was inspired by God, or we check it with God. Like, that's it. We don't do anything else. And it's not like if God tells me to go to church, I'll go to church. I don't even go to church right now. And I'm not like telling somebody they're going to church is bad. Like, that's great. Keep going. But if you don't go, like, this is not a requirement until God tells you it is. Like, he hasn't told me it is. So I don't go. And if people read the Bible, that's great. If you don't read the Bible, that's great. Like, there's no rules here. The only thing is you have to believe there's someone bigger than you, and you got to be willing to talk to that voice. And then you got to be able to act.
Yeah. When you're going on that walk, just to be very clear, because some people hear that and they're like, okay, cool. And they go outside, they grab the earbuds, right? They put the earbuds in, they go on their Spotify playlist, they turn their playlist on. When you say walking with God, when you were in that park walking around, I'm assuming you weren't wearing earbuds. You were walking with yourself and this force or entity, and it was just the two of you, no
That's it.
external stimulation of
Nope.
podcasts or music or anything like that.
None of that. No music, no podcast. You're not riding a bike. You're not riding a motorcycle. You're walking. You're in a flow state, and you need to get quiet. And something else that I've noticed that's very good. Don't use this as an excuse, everyone that's listening, okay? But I will say this: early in the morning is a very good connection time for me. I can get connected at any moment of the day now because I have a rhythm. I've been doing this so long and so consistently. Like every single day, I haven't missed a day without connecting with God. Like not once, not twice, but throughout the whole day, I don't miss a day. I just don't do that. But the thing is, when I first started, it was early in the morning before the sun even was out. Like it was in Las Vegas, Nevada, when I first started this real big rhythm. Like it was 5 a.m, that you can't even see the sun peaking. And then by the time I'm done, you see the sun, but literally like there's a spiritual thing about that.
Yeah. There's something
early in the morning. If you haven't tried it, you should. Yeah,
absolutely. What questions are you asking nowadays when you're walking?
So I asked this. That's a great question. I ask the same questions every single day. I use the app just like all the other users use the app. So the app always. How much time do we have for me to answer this question? We have like 4 minutes.
Yeah. Do your thing. Absolutely.
Okay. So there's a rhythm about this app. This is really like, I want everyone to lean in here because this is so powerful. The rhythm that I developed was how I could channel God's voice very quickly and efficiently. Is I did this. My first question I would answer is the app would show up and it would say, "What's your intention for today?" I would set an intention. The intention today is unwind this, or the intention today is to build this. The second thing I would do is I would get into gratitude. Over the last 24 hours, here are the highlights of the last day of my life. And I would just list them. I would get in gratitude. Then I would run the section of laying it on the table. I would tell God, this is where I'm at in my financial purpose today. And I would answer the question. God, this is where I'm at in my body and health today. I would answer the question. God, this is where I'm at with my relationships. I would answer the question. I speak it into the app. So it shows up in the app and it's recorded. What I'm doing is I'm being honest with God. I'm telling God what it is that I feel where I'm at in these 3 core areas of life, because God already knows. But the second that I'm honest, completely honest with God where I'm at, it opens the door for him to give me coaching, because he knows that he can give me the information and I'll take action on it because I'm being honest with where I'm at today.
Yeah.
He won't give it to me. It's almost like if like I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida right now in the studio, right? If I want to go from West Palm Beach and I want to drive to Colorado, I tell the GPS that I want to go to Colorado, and it's going to say, "And where are you coming from?" And I'm going to say my location, and it's going to hit West Palm Beach to Colorado, right?
Yeah.
But if I tell the GPS I'm in Ohio and I want to get to Colorado, I'm not going to get to Colorado, not efficiently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to take a while. So my whole point is that's why that section's there. So I tell God where I'm at, and then here's the money part of it. Is I ask God, okay, what is my direction and focus for my financial purpose today? And then he speaks to me. This is where you dump the download. This is where you get the coaching. And you literally just start telling God, you ask God to tell you where your direction, your focus is. This is where he answers, not you, but he answers in the section. So he'll tell you, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. Great. It's recorded. It's in your God walk log. So now you have it. Because there's going to be so much information that's going to come at you so fast when you actually open this channel up. Like, I haven't found a man that can actually implement every single thing off of memory. It just doesn't work. Like, there's too much nuggets that come out of these walks.
Yeah.
Then I do the same thing with my body and health. God, what's my focus and direction on my body and health? He tells me. I get in this flow state. I'm walking. I'm just walking. And then all of a sudden he says, you need to keep eating the same way you're eating. You need to keep lifting the same way you're lifting. Everything is great. Like, that's usually the answer, with something that simple, because unless there's an adjustment that he sees I need to make. Like, he knows. He's my coach.
Mhm.
Like, everyone's like, I'm going to get a health coach. Why don't you try asking God? Like, I think God knows more than your health coach. I really
Sure.
do. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't want to piss any health coaches off. Like, I'm sure you're great and you should still do what you're doing, but put God in your deal too, because God is going to really direct the ship. And then the same thing with relationships.
Yes.
God, what is the focus and direction on my relationships today? Like, God tells me how to lead my wife. God tells me how to lead my family.
Yeah.
God tells me how to show up as a father. So that's literally like the rhythm in the God Walk app. And that's what I've created and developed over just doing it. So to answer your question, I ask the same questions every single time. I speak to God. I tell him where I'm at after I'm in gratitude, and I set an intention. And then God tells me what my focus is for that day in those 3 core areas of life. And I do it every single day. I don't miss a day. Sometimes I do a couple of walks a day if there's something that we're really working on together.
Yeah.
But that's the flow. And when you have a flow like that, like, you'll operate in Godspeed. That's why the company is called Godspeed with Daniel, because you literally will operate in Godspeed versus human speed. You'll move things that you never thought you could move before.
I got to tell you, brother, I didn't know and expect what this conversation would turn into and what it would look like. I wasn't skeptical, but I was like, okay, I haven't met Dan. This is a very interesting message, but I've really enjoyed this conversation. And I say that from the heart. I've really enjoyed it. Your story is powerful. It's inspiring. And the exercise of the God walk, right? And having that conversation, not just with God, but also with yourself, because a lot of people listening, they're not asking themselves those powerful questions, even without the influence of that third party or second party or whatever. You know, it might be us, right? We don't know, but a lot of people aren't asking themselves those questions in those 3 key areas of life, and then listening for the answer while in flow state, while not listening to a podcast or anything like that. And your app, it sounds very powerful. I'm going to check it out because I'm very curious. Guys, there's links in the description. You can download it on Android or iPhone, right, from your Play Store or the App Store. It's a free app to download.
It's not free. It's $399. Here's the thing. You got to be committed to walk with God. You have to be committed. If we were to make it free, people would download it and then they wouldn't use it.
So to download it and begin using it, it will ask you to purchase the program itself.
That's right. It's $399. Here's the thing. There's some men that are listening right now that are thinking, okay, that's great. I'm going to walk with God, and that's great. Here's what I want to talk to them about, because there's some that are like, I need to be a part of something bigger. Like, if you want to be a part of Men of God and you want to be a part of God's army, you want to be a part of something that we do for 12 months together, you can submit an application online to actually be considered and actually get me on the phone directly and see if we're a fit to work together and you're a fit to be in God's army. Those men that are in God's army, yes, they're going to walk with God every single day, but they're also going to meet with us quarterly with the brotherhood. And they're going to have 52 weeks of customized training that God put me through to have the beliefs that I have, which is powerful. So if those men are listening and they're like, I want to be considered, I want to know a little bit more about the brotherhood and Men of God, then they can go to godspeedwithdaniel.com and they can click Men of God. They can submit their application. So it's godspeedwithdaniel.com. And then they can submit their application there to be considered to be a part of Men of God. And those are the men that are gonna change the world. If you want to change the world, like, first thing, step one, when you're a part of Men of God, your money, your body, and your relationships will be on point. So then you'll be open to really hear what your true purpose is on earth. But that's like step 2. I think everyone should be walking with God first, with the app or without the app. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to make, a bunch of app sales. Like, yeah, the app is $399. I need skin in the game. Like, we need people to actually walk. God wants people to walk with him, not just download a free app. So I want to just make sure that I said that, because I don't want someone going in there going, I thought it was free.
I'm glad you made that clear, because it's free to install, but to use it and to get access to the suite and to really commit, it's going to be $399. Okay, thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
And there's links in the description, guys, to check that out. But Dan, I've really enjoyed this conversation. And for those who are looking to follow you and what you're up to, for people who've really resonated with you, where's the best place that they can do that other than your website?
So they can just type in Godspeed with Daniel. In all the handles. We're in all the social media handles.
Cool.
So that's our handle for Instagram, Facebook, any of that cool stuff.
Okay. Awesome. Daniel, it was a pleasure talking with you. Thanks for sharing your story and your advice and your philosophies. We appreciate you being on the broadcast, brother. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
No matter what you believe, this conversation, like I said, I didn't know what to expect when talking to Daniel. I'm curious to hear what you got out of this conversation. Leave a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are. There are some powerful exercises, powerful takeaways, even if you don't download the app Godwalk. But if you do and you want to check it out, go to the description. If it resonates with you, check it out. Follow Daniel on his social profiles. And if you did find value from this episode, if it made you think in a different way, if you learned something, if you're going to do something differently moving forward, if you're going to go walk with God after this conversation, then all that we ask is you share this show with just one other person as well. You're the reason the show has grown, and we are grateful for you as part of the Be Better team. Thanks so much for watching and listening. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.